So we have had some consistent themes this year that have cropped up that have made the UFC very difficult to bear. We've had the undeserved title shots that make no sense. We've had our dead zone Apex cards. We've had numerous fight cancellations, which less of the UFC's fault. They're par for the course. We've got the annual disrespecting of legends, of course. And the thing we're going to focus on today, as I mentioned, is fighters cheating in the cage.
You're a liar, a cheater, a sinner, and a homosexual.
And seemingly getting no punishment for it whatsoever. So to clarify what I'm talking about with rule breaks, I'm mainly talking about things like back of the head shots, fence and glove grabbing, eye poking, and of course the double-digit bloodline enders that we seem to get on every card. We were talking about this in my chat the other day. I think it was on Sunday. I honestly couldn't remember a time this year of an instance where a fighter had been docked for doing these kind of things, which is weird because it feels like we're seeing people cheat as much, if not more than ever. So I'm bringing the question to you in all your wisdom. What would you do to solve this problem and to prevent fighters from getting away with being cheating little scum buckets?
I actually admire that you can actually be this fake.
Anytime it comes to situations like how should the company or the promotion handle certain issues, I always look at other sports and see, well, what have they done to handle similar situations. It immediately makes me think of basketball. If you are a person that fouls flagrantly, with kind of the intent to injure, you'll be penalized during that particular activity. But if you continue to do that, the league office is going to fine you, and the fine will increase exponentially over time if you continue to do those activities. Not only that, in basketball, you won't be able to play, which of course, again, affects your pockets.
I have nothing left except Spider-Man.
I feel like the UFC can take a similar model where they should be able to retroactively fine these people for being repeat offenders, even after the fact. If you can take away Nick Diaz's career for weed, you can fine somebody for actually injuring somebody in the cage. That's the way that this should go. That's going to be a deterrent. These people are prize fighters, and if you can take away the prize, then that's going to change the behavior.
I love this suggestion. I didn't even think of retrospective fining, because for me the retrospective idea has always been, oh well, the fight should be overturned or the win should be taken away or whatever, and that brings up a whole host of other problems. It's like what we said before about, like, for example, if you've gambled on somebody and then they retrospectively get the win taken from them, or what happens there?
Where's the money, Lebowski?
It's a weird one. It's kind of, so that's why in that instance I was kind of like, the retrospective stuff has always been tough, but if you go back and look throughout an entire fight and you're like, okay, well, you broke the rules here, here, and here, and this is what you get fined for doing so, I think that would have an impact, and it's something that I didn't even consider. You hit somebody's pocket, it's going to affect how people behave in the cage, and I do love that as a suggestion. I think one of the major problems that I have with the way the system is at the moment is kind of how, like, instances of, we should call it what it is, it's cheating. It's the way that they're kind of grouped together that I have a massive problem with. So I kind of put rule breaking into kind of two major categories. I have some that are accidental and some that are blatant as fuck. And then in between those two that kind of cover both sides of it is how much do those cheating instances affect the outcome of a result than others, if that makes sense. So the first thing that I would do if I was in charge of this shit is I would create like clear distinctions between how these things are actually punished. So for example, with nut shots, they seem to more often than not fall into like the accidental side in most instances. I would say, right, the first one should be a warning, and then regardless if it's accidental or not, the second one should be a point dock, because it's carelessness. Like, I think they should just set it in stone, like, right, the first one, you get a yellow card or whatever it is, and then you do it again, you lose a point instantly. And we're talking about the men only. I've never been kicked in my box, and maybe we can get CJ to confirm this, but I guarantee it's not the same. I would also say for things like a fence grab or a glove grab, I think it needs to be an instant point dock. or like a positional advantage given, depending on if it's accidental or blatant. Things like back of the head shots, instant point dock, the person should be given time to recover. And I think the fight should be overturned on the replay, given a disqualification if it ends up ending the fight. The only issue with that in itself is, and this is what's going to come up from it, is these instances are always going to be dependent on whether the referee spots every incident. And I don't want to downplay how tough a referee's job is. We rag on them all the time.
No, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's out.
If I was in there, if you were in there, we would miss shit.
Yeah.
Because positionally where you are, it's a very high pressure, there's high paced situation. You're going to miss things.
Yeah.
So I think on top of having very clear things, this is what happens if you break the rules, accidental or not, they make it very, very clear. We need to have like an adjudicating referee watching on a monitor so that if it's missed by the ref in real time, the fight can either be stopped and reviewed as it happens, which I know does have problems in itself because you don't want it to be a case of, right, we're stopping things and then it's affecting the flow of a fight.
Yeah.
You could at least do it, you know, when you get in between rounds where something could be adjudicated on then and they could say, right, there was a fence grab there, a point dock for that round. Or they start the beginning of the next round in top position or wherever it will be. And we've talked about this before. It's like they have instant replay in every other major sport in the world. You brought it up with basketball. They do it in American football. They do it in fucking football, soccer, as you call it in America. They have it in fucking golf. They have instant replays, but we don't have it in the sport where we're kicking each other's heads in. And that to me is the biggest kind of issue I've got with it. I feel like we need some kind of replay system. Or as you said, some kind of retrospective, even if it's between rounds at the end of a fight, even if it's a case of, and I love the idea about fining coming into it as well. Something needs to be done about this because as we've seen, it's not getting any better. And ultimately people's careers are being affected by it. It's not right.
It's not. And you know what? There's one thing that you mentioned that they can do right now is removing the positional advantage. They can do that right now. Like there's nothing stopping them from doing that. And we've seen them do that.
Of upper body strength now, looking for a little trip, holding on to the fence. Mark Goddard came over.
You're well on top. What happened? What happened? What happened?
He held on to the fence, Joe.
Stand up. You got top position because of it. I've took it away. You understand me?
Wow.
Do it again. Once more. Take that point.
Stand them up.
The fighter's trying to do something. Yeah, stand them up. Make them lose the position. That affects the fight, but it's affecting the fight fairly for the person who was affected by the foul.
And I think the person to get to choose. I think the person who's getting fucked over, it should be like, do you want a point or do you want to get the position back? They should be given that option because it's and it's just the inconsistency of it as well. It's just gross, man.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. That's just what makes it fair. And because if you're cheating and the consequence doesn't deter you from cheating, you're just going to keep cheating because nothing's stopping you. Nobody's stopping you from doing it. So, and you're getting good results. Why would you stop? Why would you not do it?
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
It's wild.
Just on the goodness of your heart? No.
Nah. There's no deterrent now at all. There's nothing that says that's saying to guys, I shouldn't do this anymore. It's crazy, and it's going to keep going. Guys, what do you think should be done to stop rule breaking? If you could drop your suggestions in the comments, we always appreciate them. It adds to the conversation. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks as well to you, Jax, for popping by. Go and subscribe to him immediately if you haven't already.
You wouldn't want your pool leaking and getting all full of water now, would you?
Right? No, you might get wet.